Hey yo. So today I want to talk about who you are and who you want to be. Who I am and who I want to be, whatever. So in essence, that's what I will be talking about. Okay, cool. So, okay, why do I want to talk about this? Um, I just got off a phone with a really good friend of mine, and we were talking about that, and it really resonated with me, the in-depthness and extent of what we spoke of. I'm not going to go into all of that. That's not the point. But here's something. Here's kind of the point of how I want to start this conversation. So many of us, I would argue most of us, are not yet who we want to be, right? But we are whoever we are at this point in our time, in our life. Okay, cool. Some of us know what we want to be, but don't even know who we are or who you are quite yet, per se. Um, Let me try and explain that. There are, I mean, I know this from experience of having people in my life like this, but also just observation per se. But there are people who simply don't know who they are because they're not honest about who they are. Like and this is okay, like they'll just say, they'll lie to themselves and to others, right? Okay, now here's the dilemma with that though. So who do you want to be, right? That's the other part of the question, is who you want to be. Well, the question to that question is also, how do you get to who you want to be? Like, how do you become who you want to be, right? You can make a good argument, I would say, that one of the ways to get there, or yeah, one of the ways to get there would be faking it till you make it. Which I've said before, I just don't like that saying. I'm not a big fan of it. I get it, I understand it. I just don't resonate with it per se. I get it though, I do. So that's something, right? Faking it till you make it. Like, be who you pretend to be, who you want to be until you become who you want to be. Okay, fine. Here's the problem I see with that though. So you want to be something, but you're not yet that. So you are something else, but you're pretending to be that, even though you're not, right? The problem with that is, you may be able to fool some people. More than likely, though, I would argue, you're not going to fool the people that you want to be. So if you want to be rich, let's say, that's just an example, but there's other, whatever, right? You can be, it can be, I want to be emotionally stable. I want to be minimally stress free, whatever, right? Okay, but again, those who are that which you want to be, I would argue it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to fool them, right? Because they are that, and they can tell, right? Okay, so then what's the solution? Faking it till you make it, I would argue, is not it. So if not that, how do you do it? Okay. Well, here's the thing. Okay. First, I would say, so whatever it is you want to be, there's a reason behind that, right? Like, if you want to be something more, something better, whatever that might be, there's a reason behind that. Whatever that reason is, so the why, right? Whatever your why is, you I hope, for anybody's sake that is striving for, really big ambitions, let's say, I hope that you are well connected to whatever that why is. Because if you're not, good luck. Because, again, we all want, I would argue most, if not all of us, want to be more than what we are to some extent, and so want to be something else. But most of us, I would argue, do not ultimately get to that. And I think the reason is because we're not well connected to the why. Now, I do believe that the why itself is relevant. Like that you could argue some whys are better than others. You could argue that. However, regardless of that, whatever the why is, whether it's better than another, whatever it is, if you're not well connected to the why, you're just not going to have that will, empowerment, and drive to doing the things and becoming the person that you want to be, and so forth, right? Like, we all know of people, very successful people. Like, the one that comes to mind, if anybody knows who this is Andy Elliott. Mind you, this man has always been pretty, very, driven type of individual, what have you. But he talks about when he really his why, he just connected to it in such a way that he just never went back. And what that means is, as far as I can tell from what he's explained, is he stopped drinking. He stopped wasting time doing things that he knew were not productive for him completely. Like, he cut out so much, like cold turkey, right? Like, I've done that, but not to the extent that he's done that. And the reason I would argue as to why I have not been able to do it to the extent that he's been able to do it is just because he is much more well connected to his why than I am connected to my why. Mind you, I'm pretty well connected to my why, but not to the extent that he is, right? Whereas there are other people, like there's a friend in my personal life who just is not at all, I would argue, maybe, okay, not at all, but very, very lacking in the connection to their why. Very much so. Definitely more so than I, based off what they've just spoken to me about. Okay, cool. So you need to have a good why to become that person, whatever that person might be, right? Okay, cool. So again, the question was, if not faking it till you make it, how do you do it? Okay, well, that's one part of it. You need to be well connected to the why. First, find a good why that suits you, that resonates with you, whatever that is. Figure that out. But you got to be connected to it. If you're not, it can be the best why in the world. It's just not going to really do much for you, I would argue. Okay, cool. Here's the other thing too, though. So I'll talk about me in this second part. We need to understand, or we should understand, that becoming something that you're not, that something that is greater than you, better than you, what have you, takes time. Okay, I'm sure we all know that to some extent. But here's the other variable, though, that makes it hard, that makes that time piece very difficult for most people, me included. When you decide, when you find that why, and you are well connected to it, and you start moving towards becoming that person, doing the things, so forth, we need to understand that other people always come into play, are always going to be a variable in that achievement, right? Most of us somewhat understand that, I would say, but until you're actually in it, you don't fully understand it. And when you are in it and you are coming to understand it, it's very, very hard to not allow either people or your past hinder your progression. So why people in I already kind of said people, but your past. Okay. So I used to be someone that is not at all like who I am right now. I've spoken about it in the past. I used to be a stoner. I used to be very sexually driven. That's, yeah. Not so much anymore, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, I used to be a stoner. I used to be very sexually driven. I used to be very nonchalant. which I to some extent still am, but not to the same extent. Um, I used to be somebody who someone like me now would look at and go, I am not, unless I already knew who they were and already had an established relationship with them, I would have no desire to maintain any kind of relationship with me 5+ years ago. Not, and again, I was a cool dude. I would say I think I have plenty of friends that hopefully would vouch that. Um, but that's not the point though. You can be a cool person, what have you, have a pretty good personality, but I now, looking at 5 years ago me, would say I have no desire to maintain any kind of like serious or long-term relationship with this individual, this person, just because he is not someone who has that like drive, who just has that drive and that potential. Okay, right? Because again, I've said before in many videos that no, I mean I have, but again, I said that whole fake it till you make it thing. This goes to this as to why it just doesn't work. Because once you become more of whatever it is you're trying to be, because you can always want more and more and more, which I think is a good thing as long as it's centered in a good foundation. Let's say once you become more, you can look at old you or certain people that are like you, old you, and just kind of be like, nah, I'm not interested. I have no interest in having a relationship or a serious type of commitment of sorts, let's say, to someone like that. And it's not, and again, that's not me or anybody trying to be rude and disrespectful. That's not what it is. It's just a matter of, again, like, you're trying to become more, you're trying to progress. And if there's people who are just not on that same wavelength, let's say, there's no benefit. Now, me personally, I'm not one to just be like, be gone, I shun you from my life. No. Like, if somebody is like, if me 5 years ago was being me, but let's say they were like intrigued by current me and they were like, hey, let me ask you some questions about, like, why are you the way you are? And, it's just kind of curious and trying to develop themselves, let's say, I would definitely give that time because that's benefiting them. That's serving them, right? I believe my purpose is pleasing God and serving people. So I will do that. But again, I'm not going to give that person too much of my time and effort just because it doesn't make sense. Like, I will do what I can, but no one person can give all of their time to any one person. Again, that's a whole different thing. But point I'm getting at is, and I kind of went off, so I apologize. Let me get back on the track. People. Yeah, okay. People in your past. Yep. Okay. When you're trying to progress towards something better, your past is going to hinder you because of the people as well. They go hand in hand. What you were, the person you were. So I used to be a stoner. I used to be a very sexual individual. I used to be someone who just was more nonchalant and didn't really have the drive that I currently have. That's what I was. That's who I was. But thankfully, at some point, because I found a good why and I resonated with it and I just stuck to it, I started changing. But because the people who knew me from my past that I did not want to cut out, I had no again, and I said in the beginning when I was going off about the people thing, unless it's somebody whom I already have a well-established relationship with, I have no desire of maintaining a relationship with them. But people whom I already had a well-established relationship with, I will not cut out of my life. Because they're a part of me. And I care about them. And I love them to some extent. And I just have no desire to do that. And because I believe that I do have, and I've been so far proven myself right of this, the will to not allow a person who is, let's say, lacking in progression, let's say, whatever, doesn't matter how you word it. I have a strong enough foundation and will, let's say, to keep that person from pulling me back. If anything, I hope and pray that I can pull them up, right? Maybe not though, but doesn't matter. I'm not going to cut him out. I will not. That's one of the things I've been very stringent on. Okay. People, your past. The people who knew you from your past are not just going to be like, oh, okay, you're a different person. Cool. That's just not how that works, unfortunately. So again, it takes time, I said, right? Like becoming that person, that progression, it takes time. One of the things that hinders that time often, and this happened to me, is because the people knew you from your past, they keep making you feel like you're either one, but never has this been stated directly, but again, making you feel, not saying to you directly, but make you feel like what you're doing is not the right thing, right? Whatever. Or that it's a waste of time or what have it, or like, again, many ways and why that can be interpreted to that extent. I have my reasonings and my experiences and perspectives, what have you. But that is how that works for most people who are trying to be more, who are working towards that, is because of their past, because of who they were, and because of the people who knew them for who they were. That progression tends to falter a bit or becomes longer than it needs to be. But I would say the key is understanding that. Like understanding that and being able to accept it. I think that's the hard part, which took time for me. It took time. I didn't accept it right away. I do accept it now. And I'm talking about my mother even. She didn't get it. And she, to some extent, sometimes still doesn't get it, which is okay. But because I accept it, and I acknowledge that that's just a part of it. And again, I'm well connected to my why, well enough to where not even my mother is going to hinder me from doing that which I believe is better for both me and her and all the people I care for and love. Who, again, I'm not saying they necessarily are hindering me intentionally. That's not it. No. Like, my mother truly does do and say the things to me that she does and do to me because she truly does believe that it is best. But just because someone believes something doesn't mean it's right. And that's something that I've also struggled with in many ways, and all of us do to some extent. But again, let me sum it up. Who you are and who you want to be. Whatever that is that you want to be, you need to understand that first, you need to have a not just a good why, but a good why that you're well connected to, that actually drives you and keeps you in that state of mind, keeps you in that mode of action. Because if not, good luck. 1, 2. Understand, regardless of all the other variables, it takes time. It doesn't happen right away. Like now, finally, like I have established new relationships with people who know me for who I am now and who I'm becoming. And these relationships, I would say, are, not all of them, but many of them are much more suited towards helping my development than my previous past relationships. Now, some of my previous past relationships, mind you, have come along with me, let's say, and have developed into that progression of same wavelength as me, right? Which is, I'm very thankful for, but not all of them. But that's okay. That's how it is. It takes time. Some people do, some people don't. Some people do right away or at different times, what have you. Okay, cool. So a good why connected to it that keeps you focused and driven. It takes time. Your past is your past, and it's a part of you. I don't believe in the idea of like forgetting your past. To each their own. I don't agree with that. It's a part of you. Use it. Remember it. And conclude along the lines of, I don't want to stay there. I don't want to keep myself in my past. I again, I do not like myself. I don't hate myself 5 years ago. Okay, don't make it pessimistic. I'm not saying that. No, I mean, I had great qualities 5 years ago, many great qualities, but I had plenty of not great qualities, and I've gotten rid of many of those not great qualities. I'm still, none of us are perfect. I still have my flaws. All of us do, but I am trying my best to get rid of as many of the flaws as possible. Cool. Your past is always going to be a part of you. No point in forgetting about it, because you can't even do that, even if you wanted to. I believe. Whatever, to each their own. Use your past to drive you. People are always going to be, to some extent, factors that are going to come into play in the process of you becoming whatever it is you want to become. Find your own way. I have mine. I'm not going to go into that, but find your own way of not allowing them to hinder you. A really good one maybe is by understanding and accepting that whether they agree with it or not, whether they are intentionally or unintentionally hindering you to some extent, you know that what you're doing is going to be better for you and for them. You know and believe that. And that is what you want and desire in your progression towards being better. You want, obviously, to serve yourself, but you want to also be able to serve them and help them understand what it is that you understand, let's say. I hope that what I'm saying makes sense, and that it's clear that if you want to become more and what have you, all those things need to be put into consideration. And you need to continuously work on all of those. Continuously work on your why. Continuously work on the people, like as in making them understand why you're doing things, and if they don't, just continuously you understanding why you're doing things and not letting that hinder you. Continuously working on developing your past to better serve you moving forward. And then again, I can't remember the fourth one, which is really frustrating now, but in essence, look back at the video, you'll see it and you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that's what I've got. It's everybody can do it. It's just not easy. And if you understand the hard parts of it, I would argue you're going to be better off. And continue to understand those things on an ongoing basis, because life happens and things get difficult. But if it's important enough, if your why is good enough, all those other things should not completely pull you off track. Maybe tip you over a little bit, but not take you off the track. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful. And I'm sorry it was a little choppy towards the end there, but I did my best. Anyways, God bless.